President Trump railing then against Fed policy. Is this something that we need to be increasingly watchful of, the president trying to influence Fed policy? And do investors, you think, expect Jay Powell to be swayed by this?
No, I don't think they do. So I think the whole point of the central bank independence is that it doesn't listen to what the president wants. So the central bank should be looking purely at what the economy needs. And if they think rates need to go up, they should be putting rates up. And I think this is actually quite a change of tune for Trump, because before he was elected, he was quite critical of the Fed for keeping rates too low. And he said that had caused the US economy to have too much debt. However, now he's wanting to spend more. He's wanting to raise military expenditure. He's wanting to spend more on infrastructure. And higher rates are not good for the policies he wants to impose at the moment. So I think that's why he's been critical of the Federal Reserve. He
is critical of the Federal Reserve. And I've got this chart that shows where the path of interest rates has taken us over many decades. And that's in the white line here. And we've set it against the green, which is the growth story. You can see the white line on the far right of this chart is a fairly shallow climb, and this just making the point that actually rates have been going up quite slowly compared to other bouts of tightening that we've seen from the Fed. Would you go along with that?
Completely, yes. And rates are still very low compared to where they have been historically. And if we look at the Fed's dot plots, their new long-term rate is 3%. So that's still very low compared to average interest rates in the past.
And we see the FX markets really jumping on this story with gusto, don't we, this morning? So the dollar is weaker, down by around 0.5% on the dollar index this morning. The euro is higher, the pound is higher, some other currencies in there as well, of course. So we see this dollar weakness in response to these Trump comments. Does this seem like a turn away from the strong dollar then? Because the dollar had been driven up by fiscal spending, by rate differentials across the Atlantic, weakness in emerging markets, a host of factors. Has that all gone away, or are we going to be back to the strong dollar fairly soon, do you think?
I think probably back to the strong dollar. So we've got Jackson Hole later in the week. We will have the Fed commenting on interest rates. I still think they're going to be raising rates twice more this year. That's what they've guided towards. At the moment, inflation in the US is 2.9%. Core inflation is 2.4%. I think looking at the economy, they should be raising rates. So I don't think Trump's comments will steer the Fed away from doing that. And therefore, I think the interest rate rising cycle will push the dollar higher.